Yeah, that's
Right, so welcome everyone to another one of these Mayday Room poetry readings. It will get better. Maybe it will get worse. Who knows? So this is another in a series that's now been running for about a year. Long readings by single poets mainly, so give people a chance to really show longer pieces of new work. For those who don't know about this place, we're an archive and a safe haven for social movements and people who are involved in trying to break things, fracture the present, or to try and re-explore past attempts to do the same. And so we work both as a sort of social centre, event space, resource space, and an archive of radical culture and marginal expression. Tonight we're going to have some poems from Sean from new work called Our Death. Is that right?
Yeah.
Of which some has been published recently in his book, Ghosts, which you can buy off David Grundy. How much is it? £5 if you want those. We're also, as an archive, actively collecting materials, mainly from the past 50 years of social struggles. So, looking for donations if anyone has materials, poems, things that they want to deposit here, which might be of use to changing the state of things or transforming everything, then let me know. And also, we're an event space where if you're involved in radical movements or self-education or experimental arts, then we can offer some space and resources for free. So if you want to hold events, then get in touch and we'll do our best to. So I guess I should pass over to Sean, who's going to read for about an hour.
Something like that.
And so thank you, Sean.
Hello. Thanks for coming. I'm nervous as fuck. I haven't known London for a long time. I'm going to read, like Jacob said, I'm going to read from a new manuscript which is kind of finished, called Our Death. And it's made up of two sequences of poems, one called Cancer, which are poems based on a Greek poet called Katerina Gogu, and the other, which is a set of prose poems called Our Death, which kind of started out as a set of prose poems about a middle-aged man tormented by apocalyptic visions, living in Berlin and observing Brexit. But then as it went on, it became darker and more horrific. And so this shit is going to be dark as fuck, alright? And I'll move backwards and forwards between the two sequences because it's easier that way. Razor Psalm. The last song has run out, we buried it and died. Now we are turning blue. I think it's a hospital, it is really a bar. Let's call it the felon ward. There is no hell, there is only the law. Behind every border, the law. A rant is a haunt. Here is the surveillance building. Christ, it's as black as the morning. I wish I was a burning mirror. Here is the solar acid of royalty. Here, have some hate speech. Here are some major buildings. Here are some tiny skeletons. Here is a pile of dead friends. They told me the riots were getting boring. They told me we are all stained by their bombs. Here are the stains round my mouth. Here are the towns run by fascists. You know, we could refuse the sun as well. Its wraith-like idiocy, its endless, ridiculous angels, its sad songs, their ancient, beautiful rooms. Angels are insects. Insects are needles. Today, I will say fever and romance. Today I will say the walls run through our bodies. Today I will say, are those racist bastards dead yet? What is catastrophe? Kick till you break. This is a complaint on the state of the Bohemians. Thomas Munzer, 1521 or something. Thrash me. These days, everyone is writing their final book. Whatever. I've lost everything as well. My body is made up of 3 needles, several coins, a system of nitrates, and something wankers would call a philosophy. I see in the dark and like to smash mirrors. For many other people, things are far worse. I roam around the town reciting an old poem by Anita Berber, corpse, knife, light. There are moments each evening when I think I can see that light. It shines inside all the rooms I have lived in, all those rooms and cities that we have always loved, always despised, coins, mirrors, light. Every day I wake up, every day inside the wage system, inside all its houses, never paid rent on even one, sleep nowhere. Each morning inside my wages I lie in wait for those who sleep. I sleep on their chests and never speak, never take this as spectral evidence, meaning fuck death. Morphine. 5 points on the map. 5 days. You watch your city burn. 5 a.m. 5 cops at the door. Interpret that. No city is built again. Your map, a declaration, a trap, a war. Divination. Inhuman fears of the people. This distance, an arrangement of songs scattered on the capital. A set of laws to kill the living. Rhymes. This distance. Ruins are barricades. Songs are bones. Our maps, almost, are conspirators. All night awake, questioning the sky. Comets also are bones, are waiting to crash our adventure. Days pile up like collapsing towers. Cops, bone. Crossed out Bakunin, wrote down 5 cops. 5 a.m, a charm to consume the capital. Letter in turmoil. It is no longer possible to have a balanced relationship with the world. I read that somewhere in Ernst Bloch, throw the book at the wall, scream for a bit, then run down 6 flights of stairs to the street below. This seems to happen just about every morning. I head to the canal and stand there staring at the swans and pronounce certain words of shriveled power. Theresa May, for example. Stephen Crabbe, remember him? Of course, these words only have purchase in the land of the dead, but still I recite them, their syllables grinding together like the ghosts of medieval machinery, like a parade of headless skeletons, or the wonder of a ghost train perfectly preserved in post-apocalyptic brine, the auditory bleach we bathe in every day. It's the Landwehr Canal, yeah? Rosa Luxemburg, yeah? Her body had been there for 6 months. I think about that as I stare at the swans. I also think about the well-known poem by Paul Celan that alludes to that incident, about how he talks about the silence of the canal, at least about how the canal has become silent, and I think about how wrong that is. Its inaudible radioactive signals never stop shrieking, and impossible music I've been unable to stop dancing to for days now, each of its notes a representation of an impossible world, flickering somewhere just outside the borders of the known imaginary spectrum, those imaginary borders, those ridiculous walls. We scratch ourselves to pieces on their walls, or rather we write there, and what we write there would explode all known dictionaries, were it not for the foul neoliberal glow of the so-called sun, transforming all we have written into, once again, those aforementioned words of power: may, crab, dirt and bones and gas. Yes, every morning I sit there by the canal, and when the panic has passed, I murmur softly to the swans, and then I go home and dream that I have befriended them, and they have flown high across the border and into the land of the dead, and there they have torn out the throats of all of our tormentors, and they have passed a soothing balm among the souls of those who continue to live in that land. And obviously by soothing, I mean usefully corrosive and deadly, and it is rare that I don't wake up in tears. I'm trying to stop that shit. I've been studying magic, utopia, and weaponry. I'll keep you up to date with my progress. From deep darkness. The violent disc in the centre of the sky and the coins in my pocket both radiate the same infernal energy. I know this because I've been awake for 5 days. I know I've been awake for 5 days because when I went out onto my balcony this morning, all the buildings in the city collapsed. This seemed to me to be something of a cause for concern, so I sat down to write my will. Here goes. My coffee cups and typewriter I leave to, I don't know, whoever can scream the loudest. My collection of empty beer bottles I leave to my landlord. My library I leave to the homeless of Cottbus. My credit card likewise. My sexual uncertainty I keep to myself. My love I leave to the suicided. My drug habit I leave to cops, let them wither, mutate and die. My hatred I keep close to my heart. My heart I leave to the centre of the earth. My grief, which is the size of the tiny racist island on which I was born, I compress it. I transmute it into something like the wild and collectively inhuman joy of the swifts that circle the city with a frenzy wilder than, oh, whatever. The heart is such a lame metaphor, and so pathetic, the idea of burying it in the earth when I could just as easily fire it into the centre of the red spot of Jupiter, for example. My sensory system, for example. My 5 senses I leave to the invisible moons of Pluto, like a cluster of burst and eclipsed stars, like the city swifts flickering in and out of calendrical time, where coffee cups and typewriters and habits and all the rest become a violent disc of knots and tumours, trapped somewhere far outside of the known world, because obviously after 5 days without sleep, your heart gets into some fairly interesting unknowable rhythms, and your connections with the earth and its 5 senses become increasingly tenuous. And I think at this point of Will Alexander's essay, A Note on the Ghost Dimension. I don't know if you've read it. He writes in it somewhere about the missing 5 days of the Mayan calendar, which apparently is a time when monsters and poisons will appear. And I don't know much about the Mayan calendar, but after 5 days without sleep, I know a lot about ghosts and monsters and poisons, and a lot about how the missing 5 days could be taken to mean the fate of the 5 senses themselves, and how those missing 5 senses have been kidnapped and held for no ransom on some irrelevant island deep within the centre of some obsolete astrological system. My tiny racist island I leave to the monsters and poisons. The ghost dimension I leave to my dearest friends. My knots and tumours I leave to those who would form a new government, that they might learn just how tiny, how rabid, and how lost a hijacked sensory system can become. Ah, fuck it. I leave the look on my face to my enemies. I leave the red spot of Jupiter to the unemployed. I'm sure they know what to do with it. Screw my heart. Resist death by water, by fire and rope also. I am fearful of nothing. I love you all so fucking much. From cancer. Let's drink with the unemployed. with all sun and silence, with all dust in the sun and silence, and sun and cognac and dust, and cigarettes and sun. Now, let's not go on about our health today, pills and drink and snot. Don't worry, I feel very calm. There are nails, there is hair, there are years, dirty. The pills are great, the party, you know which one I mean. Impossible to tell who's a cop these days. Music, the cognac's shit. No, I haven't heard anything for quite some time. You know, I'm thinking I might want to, you know, there's a room upstairs. I want to see you without your pants. Kind of curious about your dick. Music, for Christ's sake. You take a solo. They took a stick and beat me. Cognac, music, silence. You pull out your switchblade, start slashing. The Bonney gang were right. There are 4 cardinal points. The first is the sky. It is where they have buried us. The second, the earth. There they question us. It is very silent. The other 2 points were recently taken out of commission. No explanations were offered. One day, I'll come out from the houses. I did it yesterday. No thought for anything. One small shred of my father. A tiny piece of the sea. No one can take them from me. The city they fucked like a dead friend. So many dead friends. One day I'll come out from the houses, straight into powder and flames. I did it yesterday, you fascist bastards, you pig bastards. Red banners, barricades, black banners, a new city, a new kind of sun. One day I'll come out from the houses and listen, I need to tell you. Don't think I'm afraid when I tell you, they got me. Don't do it, they got me. Reinvent time, reinvent violence, then listen. Go at those bastards like the Furies. Only then will you disappear. Only then will you learn the magic, a tiny shred of childhood and ocean. One day I will come out from the houses, a stranger's language of rags and dreams and the loneliness, the disappearance. Oh God, what do you think I am? Some kind of cop? Someone has taken our knives. We go down like the sun. Place of birth, unknown. They have scratched away our slogans. Colour of eyes, unknown. We go down like hail and rain. Year of birth, fuck it. Next time they shoot us, we'll refuse to die. It's raining again. Give me a cigarette. We'll cut ourselves down. They hung us yesterday. No escape from the massacre. This whispered no. Liars, informers, murderers, screaming yes, always yes, no escape, always yes. This whispered no, this rotten world, this world we loved. Fearful will abandon our history or steal it. Fearful will set up borders around that history. Fearful will drive up the rents on that history and talk about the old days in metre and rhyme while the pigs close the borders. Fearful will be those borders. Fearful will confuse those borders with songs and sit inside those songs as if they were the scars in our veins. Fearful our scars will become a lullaby and that we will turn into dogs. Fearful will confuse dogs with doves. Fearful of doves and swans, of corpuscles, of medical robes, of silence and smack. Fearful we're doing what they want, what silence wants. We police their borders. They know how it is. Fearful bastards. Fearful of everything. All of us. Fuck it. Do it tomorrow. No escape from the massacre. We are being followed. They are hunting us, are mostly silent. Lines of them, they are hunting us. Their sentences relatively simple. Our hunters, our educators. It is very simple. It is our hunters, our educators. It is very simple. We don't mention the silence, what we keep inside our whispers, in our signals, in our silence, as each of their faces change, as each of their cells divide. In great procession, the faces, their lessons are endless. Silence in circles, our hunters, as if we were dogs, as if we barked at strangers, and now they will murder. There is safety in murder. Somewhere are angels. Angels have claws. Dogs are everywhere. Lyrics for Crook. Fuck it. The sun is doing whatever suns do, the citizenry are creeping like flowers, idiots. The sky is grey on further grey, and the haunting its sharpened hail never stops. Oh, wow. A single lifetime. We crawl about the earth as if the sky were an image or something special, as if never mind. Flowers, for example. Try eating one. But don't get me wrong, I'm just like everyone else. They keep their gold in me, the dullness of riches, beware it. What did we really expect? I mean, we look at clouds, are impressed by thunder, and people eat it like they do famous persons. Carbon, indigestion, property, watch that shit. But it was only pills made me queasy, that and flames underfoot. The cities have almost vanished. We list them like molecules, lesions. We list them every morning to describe a shadow is mania, to inhabit a name, to eat human flesh. You think it's imaginary. Maybe so. Try telling that to the fortune tellers, you know the ones, those who never think or say an original word. Their vocabulary is monstrous, ours too. I love the cities as they so predictably burn, the sound of ash and, yes, this talk of music, of soul, this so brief life. On throwing bricks. Some things are reserved for the dead and they can't imagine them. That's either Atto or Heraclitus, or more likely a combination of both, I don't remember. But anyway, it's been echoing around whatever remains of my skull these past few days as I wander around the neighbourhood, trying to work out exactly when it was the catastrophe took place. My routine is simple. I go to the cafe, I order breakfast, I usually eat it, I sit by the canal, I go to the bar, I talk to people, I want things, I never fuck, I'm not bothered. At some point I make minor adjustments to the flow of red and white corpuscles through my body. Eventually the day stops and I sit around in cotty and drink beer, and sometimes I spit blood and I wonder what, if any, microsocial effects my corpuscles might have on the cobblestones. Kind of like if you threw a brick at a window and both of them shattered, both brick and window, and the pieces then combined and mutated and split apart and cut across corporate time and unlived time and undreamt time, and well, yeah, the catastrophe, whatever that is. We all know it's happened. We're all pretty sure what it means. Most of us know that most of its light has yet to reach us. Britain's preening little act of self-destruction was one of its more minor manifestations, of course. And the sound of the word Britain ringing inside my skull forces me to my feet, and I stare at the faces of a few passing strangers and wonder about the ratio that must exist between the precise number of blood cells tormenting my body and the precise number of unidentified stars in what we still so unprecisely call the sky. Somewhere down near the bridge I pick up a brick. It's rough and smooth in my hand like the bones of a murdered aristocrat. I drop it again and it breaks into two pieces. I pick up those pieces. I drop them again. I keep doing this. I start to scream. I arrange the pieces on the ground. With each scream I name one of them. The bones of Boris Johnson. The face of Theresa May. The sudden screeches of a million birds descending on the broken alchemical stench of what was once called London. One of those screeches is called the Human Rights Act. One of them is called immigration policy. Each of them sounds like the noises I imagine a comet would make as it slammed into the earth and smashed into roughly the same number of pieces as there are blood cells in my body. I kind of want to sleep. I pick up another brick. I stare at nothing. Everything is silent now, silent like the noises the canal sometimes makes at dawn. Of course, none of this actually happened. I live a quiet life, and it's many years since I threw a brick through a window. I am worried, but outwardly calm. I lean against the wall of the elevator as it carries me up to my 6th floor apartment in this more or less modern building in this still more or less working class part of Kreuzberg. and I wonder about the sounds the dead would make if they could imagine the light that surely does reach them from whatever future still remains to us. I open the door to my apartment and sit there in the dark. I feel old and tired and deeply afraid of my dreams. What if the summer never ends? None of us have slept for a long time. How could we? There were fires up and down the Charing Cross Road, mumbled conversations about apartheid. England was damp, was possibly leaking. We followed tiny trails of liquid waste across the city, called it aesthetics, called it action. We all fell down. Some of us voted, some of us put on balaclavas. There were several earthquakes, endless strategies of tedious indifference, some major buildings and some statues defaced, declaration of endless war, parties in the park, criminalisation of drinking, several dead friends. There was experimentation with makeup and electricity, occupation of a number of universities, fistfights with cops and fascists, distress, hate speech, consolidation of royalty running for our lives. It's difficult now. All of that stuff is piled up like a heap of expressionist rubble in a semi-imaginary alley somewhere far away. We argue endlessly about whether it was us who died or them, but the one thing we all agree on is the barbed line that separates us. Sometimes we pluck that line. It makes a high and barely audible electric screech like some useless old record. It puts immense pressure on the inside of our skulls, like boiling bleach, like the abolition of all memory. It speaks of heartbreak, of denial, of new advances in somnambulism, of revenge fantasies and drug addiction. It has nothing to say about where to go from here, about the day we crawl out from under our scattered rocks and burn their border controls to the ground. One day our eyes will close. One day the sun will finally go down. Let's not chat about despair. There are certain things we take that help us to murder sleep, that appalling privilege. You know what I mean. Those silent golden landscapes, those gardens and cancers and hollyhocks. Our shadows live there, would slaughter us if they could. But instead they are trying to speak to us. They say, for instance, there is a sky inside the earth. There is no light, but everything there is visible. No one can visit and no one can leave. But those who are held there, they are manufacturing the noises that will shatter all our dreams. We fall asleep inside those noises. Intractable light. The ghost dimension. We don't know their names or their faces. They are gathered in ruined houses, in water-damaged pitchers. They are not our gods, our hypocrisy, your chastity. Who are you anyway? What are these cities consumed by the winds? Theirs is not your glitter. It is not their stars that encircle these walls where cold and evil bastards are building something hungry. Their names are very different. We use them, those names. New uses for gravity, methodologies of the wrong apocalypse. From cancer. And we collect little pieces of resistance, etc. Don't talk to me about fragmentation. It is rain. Talk about rain. Durruti had it right. Transubstantiation, rain, metallic burning rain, red rain, crowbars. The Richter scale is a calendar, bones piled up like rain beneath the earth. 40 degrees in the shade, 40 below. No one was ever born here. Fascists and charitable organisations have made an agreement. They have bought up the city. They have poured oil on us. They talk about rats and houses. The contractors and the cops, of course, like voyeurs fucking them. They talk about the houses. They are breaking up the houses. They have tied you to the bed with your legs and face. It's how they put up the rent, how they get us out. They change our names, elect us, pour oil on us, the streets' names, our names. They burn our names, 40 in the shade, 40 below. Our mouths are swollen. No one was ever born here. A stone. Beneath it, that liar, the sun. What tear gas is for. Cops, being neither human nor animal, do not dream. They don't need to, they've got tear gas. Don't expect me to justify that. I mean, you know as well as I do that cops have got access to the content of all our dreams. And you probably also know that a fair amount of the planet's tear gas is supplied by the Westminster Group. Their non-executive chairman, whatever that is a member of the household of Charles Windsor. He probably thinks of tear gas as being somehow related to the cloud of unknowing, and in a sense he's kind of right. You come to a very real understanding of the nature of things, both visible and invisible, by having your sensory system hijacked and turned against you by a meaningful dose of tear gas. It's the anti-Rambo. The absolute regulation and administration of all the senses. I mean, try it. Next time things are starting to kick off a little bit, just go out on the street and run straight into the middle of the biggest cloud of tear gas you can find. Bang, sight, taste, smell, all the rest of them, all turned into confusion, loss of geographical certainty, and most importantly, pain. Don't freak out. In the centre of that pain is a small and silent point of absolute unknowing. It's that unknowing that the cops, and by extension Charles Windsor, call knowledge. They want it. They've got scalpels if necessary, but tear gas is cleaner. It's not clear what they want it for, but any epileptic or voyant or drug addict can tell you what it is. It's there in Blake. Christ, it's there in the sleeve notes to Metal Machine music. What's it mean? Who cares? It answers no questions. What does Charles Windsor want with us? The cops will not tell us what they don't know and what they think we know. Black cocaine. After Anita Berber. Walls are partially imaginary. One table, several shadows. Everywhere I see eyes, black eyes, green eyes, scarlet. I have abolished my sex. I have no desires, only incidents and burning flies. Shadows are partially walls. There is someone here, wants my shadow, eats it, fucks it, steals my shadow, my cocaine, my shrieking. I'm drunk right now, I'm in pain. There are many types of pain and many eyes, many animals, many mice and many stars. Shadows, scarlet shadows. Memoir, after Mio Vestrini. I would wake up. I would hate. I would fuck. I would rarely think about Bakunin. I would walk around the town. I would think about the careful differences between anarchism, epilepsy, addiction, psychosis, the dialectic, various syndromes, and panic. I would think about their rhythm. I would refuse to leave the house. I would say, it is raining. I like the rain. I won't tell you why. Instead, I will tell you how much I am fearful of food. I chew it 30 times. I spit it out onto the ground. It makes me sick. I am losing weight. I don't care. When people tell me I am losing weight, I say, so what? The sun too is losing weight. It's the law of the cosmos. I actually do say that. After I say it, I start to scream. I think about the wind and the insects that live there and make a mental note of the number of my friends who are in analysis. I am not in analysis. I would rather be like the insects who live in the wind and do something remarkable with silk, but instead I am screaming, and this has fuck to do with the magnificent silk made by the laughter of insects. I remember meeting a hippie once who told me I was going to have a very long life. Shit in your mouth, I murmur to the memory of the hippie. I run out into the middle of Cottbus Tor. It's 3 in the morning and there is very little traffic. I go crazy again and start to recite poems. The ancient poems known to all of us. The ancient poems that would kill us if they wanted, each single syllable. I fall asleep in the bar. I don't go home. I think a little about the moon, its relation to Marxism, to the riots of 5 years ago, and the predicament we find ourselves in now. It's a full moon. It hides very little. Don't leave me. When you were born, which you were told on several occasions was 1969, there were a group of Americans tramping about on the moon. Whatever. We are far from the moon. Here, the furniture changes places every night. There is blood in your nose. You don't know who your family are. That's okay. Each morning they break your arms. They tell you it's fatal. They tell you it will help you breathe better. Alphabets come from your mouth and they tell you they are fake. Fake the words that come from your throat and fake the unpredictable furies. Fake your burnt skin. Fake your blue eyes. Last night you said to yourself, I am so sick of being unable to sleep, I will eat 37 of these pills. They are like milk in my mouth, like spittle and spectres, and all those other things. You don't know what those things are. You drink, you shoot up. The men stomping around on the moon didn't drink or shoot up, you're sure of it. You lie down in some kind of stupor and sing some Beethoven. The men in the moon didn't think about Beethoven. They said to each other, do you love me, wankers? There are stains on all your clothes. You don't know what the stains are. You lie in bed and wonder about the men on the moon and if they are still there. Dying, you decide, takes much time and much dedication. A reference to the voices. I have been living for several months in a supernatural state of mind. Baudelaire. It's not a question of a belief in ghosts when you've been walking around with one strapped to your back for as long as you can remember. When you remember nothing but whatever the ghost thinks to whisper in your ear softly on eternal repeat. When you're lost in one of the more troubling sectors of a city you lived in 2 decades ago, confused by subtle shifts in the angles of the buildings, the wraith-like irritability of its invisible crowds, when the exit routes have been replaced by the endless grinding of teeth and solar waste, when the voice in your ear, like the infernal tour guide that it is, mumbles on about street committees, about phone trees and safe houses, bailiffs and picket lines. When you almost remember what those words mean, when you can almost smell the glue and the petrol, and the voice in your ear is a system of lines and threads, a storm of dates and songs, and you can almost make out the language as it tells you the catastrophe is a depth charge concealed in the spaces between the buildings, and that those spaces are as endless and as bleak as the sound of a stopped clock. And you remember walking up these same streets 2 decades ago, dressed in a green trench coat, clutching a broken wing mirror, demanding that strangers read their faces and their systems in its cracks, and you recognise that memory as Armageddon itself, as the moment when all the stopped clocks start up again, an impossible syncopation, a new kind of darkness, a new kind of flame flickering just outside your sight. Abject. After Baudelaire. Told you they got dark, right? Wine. Oh, right. Abject after Baudelaire. Wine is a dull disc that encircles the law. It will check your passport, will make sure that your sense of rhythm never exceeds the accepted patriotic patterns. Heroin, meanwhile, is a police system. It runs subtle holes through the length of the calendar, the city's windows, your systems of memory. Both of them become an alien landscape, an inaudible language that speaks at times of human love, a golden net about as plausible as the sounds made by Cash, that fictitious mirror, that city of no language, where every night you lock the door and scatter coins across the floor until they reflect the farcical stars and all of their fevers and razors, talking such drivel about the petty obligation to die beneath some weird lover's fists. What a mess. There's no point in waking you with talk of drugs, sorcery, the couple form. Love's solar objects crashed into several oceans, their integrity slipped. Please tell me again about the quiet of springtime, the balance form of streetlights. At times like this, the universe hangs over us. When we block it out, it roars. Great love. that will crush the human world. I wish we could do something to help each other. But today we are separated by so many tedious enemies. They smile at us all day long and ask us about our sadness. What is there to say? That sadness, in the way they pronounce it, isn't much more than a weird reflection of their smile, and that within that smile is written the histories of the cities of the sun and the devastation that continues to be inflicted there. If only we could whisper to each other the language needed to describe the devastation, so we might fill their mouths with the thorns of our great loss. It seems that everything we once knew has been stolen from us, and now idiots are reciting it. Idiots who don't know how to close their mouths, and the sounds those mouths make are razors scratching words into our chests. Great love, no one can read the language written there. I wish I could say to you just one soothing word, but today I am the most ridiculous of brides. Only the stains around my mouth make me less repellent than those whom I most despise. Further notes on tear gas. Meanwhile, tourists will stand far outside any clouds of tear gas that may appear. It's part of what defines them. They might want a trace of the smell on their clothes, but still it's the avoidance of pain that is the central fact of their collective dream. Nothing will cause them to disperse. They hold maps. Here is the factory, here is the museum, here is the hell of stars. They talk to the cops without fear of death. But without this fear, they will never know or remember a thing. Tear gas is the only mnemonic that counts, its system of recitation and network of broken bones. But tourists don't want to know about this. Instead, they want to take photos of graffiti, the shattered images that taunt them in their dreams. They don't remember their dreams. They don't know that remembrance is premonition, that their names are premonitions of death, are the encrypted dreams of judges, of obituaries and rainwater and pink filth. They only know what the cops have told them to know. Refuse to give them directions. Refuse all interpretations. Your exploded lacrimal gland is not a symbol of their despair. He chooses things, my things. The man I fuck and think I know is your thighs are my thighs. He's behind me, walks toward me, his head is shaved, there are no stars, took pills. He's on the stair, is taught pills, makes out he's an anarchist, knows nothing, he's a British cop, I don't give a fuck. You see, I kind of love him. He tells me things I have never owned a mirror. No, I won't go out tonight, never. Don't speak, it's not gonna be okay. 3 days awake, I can't find the door. Already morning, half the people here totally on fire, the rest are made of stone. Me too. 3 days awake, 3 days dreaming. Scratches our faces, this place too. Talk of bones and fire in the suburbs. Stop it. Gay old Trackle psalm, as I imagine it spoken by the ghost of Anita Berber. It's a bar gone out forever. No, it's not. It's a light gone out forever. It's a light gone out forever. It's a bar that's never opened, never closed. It's a vineyard, it's a black hole, it's a mouthful of spiders. It's an abandoned room sprayed with burning milk. The maniacs have died. It's an undiscovered island. It's the sun as it is in nightmares. They're smashing drums, they're inventing wars. Here they are wriggling their hips, here they are blah blah blah. Oh, the screaming ocean. Paradise is catastrophe. It's all porn, especially the fairy tale forests. Here they are, they have buried the refugees. Oh my, it's raining again. Nasty old gods are digging the ditches. They are all asleep in the boring city squares and bombs are falling. It is chemical rain, it is little girls, it is poverty and celebrity and crocodile tears. It is rooms filled with impossible chords, it's your tedious record collection. It is shadows, it is Airbnb, it is mythological mirrors. Here are the inmates, they have burnt the hospital down. Here is your favourite dealer. Here are the latest plagues. An invisible person has appeared in everyone's simultaneous dream. Oh look, here I am, fuck the police. It's the surveillance laws. All ages are not contemporaneous. We are outside this century. We are very glamorous. We are waiting in the hall. Somewhere near Moritzplatz, the idiots are getting sick. It's the stupidity of gardens. I love the tiny sparrows. The janitor's kids are not playing, they are digging up gold. It's the last song you will ever hear. It is horrible blind children waiting in the alley. Their shadows are climbing the wall. It is poisons and fascists and fairy tale roses. It's a tourist boat on the Landwehr Canal. It's the building where I live, it's Valium and Speed. Here are the dead refugees piled up inside the walls. It's our beautiful rooms. It's our wings stained with shit. It's the western border, it's what you want it to be. It is England controlled by maggots. Here I am, locked inside this city. It is peaceful like my childhood dreams. Here we are choking our memories to death. What if this year never ends? Here are the experts being fed to the dogs. In America, a very boring lunatic opens his eyes. In fever, notes on les chemins de Gérard de Nerval. Don't wait up for me tonight. The sky will be black and white. Yep, I'm in a bad mood as well. Cops are everywhere. But we know that, we murdered them. Let's talk about black stars. Something stretched strings between them and now they flutter like cords. Stars, a very bad mood. Pasolini wrote about singing, called it the divine wind that doesn't heal but rather makes everything sicker. This is the fifth day of our fever. Cops make everything unreal. Songs get sung outside their cellular systems from the centre of some kind of secretive world. Whisper those songs, then scream them. After that, kill all straight men. You know they want it. Was thinking about that for a while this morning, then I thought about the human world. I'm sick of it as well. Was thinking about murder in the suburbs is the only real expression of the continued need for human love, where everything is turning to ice, yet everything is frozen in gold. When the sun hits the earth, it shatters into all human data. Calendars of the places music goes when its notes disappear. The same places the dead live, I guess. But this has little to do with what we say when we're wasted, and everything is flooded with animal light, the human horizon covered in ashes. A guy walks into the ocean, kill him. The gesture is futile. He walks out of it again, won't shut his mouth, talks for several centuries about the devil and the hunger of screaming birds. Don't waste your sympathy. The sky is packed with them. Terminal birds that screech of all the terrible things that might happen. And behind them, timeless bells transforming all to the metal stains of what has already happened. And behind all of that are stars tracing out the fixed raptures of what ought never to have happened. There is no death anywhere. Our hatred of the rich is entirely justified. Toward the end of his life, Antonin Artaud wrote a poem complaining that no one ever touched his body. But he seemed to think it was a good thing, that if anyone did, then it would split to 1,000,000 fragments and fill the known sky. Poor Artaud. Little did he know this goes on every night. There are bodies that fragment each dusk, that split into countless wild lenses that fall to earth at dawn and form a strange calendar of imaginary incidents, frozen cities, addictions, etc. What this implies is not utopian. The straight world never touches anything. Its victims never do anything else. Because I'm fearful the sky will shatter, I would like to turn it to stone, to turn it to 7 pebbles, each to mark a day of our fever, as in set fire to cars, put glue in locks, sugar in petrol, etc. Also include bodies. Also include the shock and the curse of our loss, as in recite that curse until the voice becomes a song, or the word becomes something outside its borders. The barricades we built across this life of great mourning, in which the seeds of our hurt would bloom. The fascists who murdered Pasolini are now the owners of the world. Do not mourn or forgive. Shriek one time, shatter glass. The 13th returns, and everything we once thought inaudible. There is gunshot, there is fire in the suburbs, the fixed stars falling like cops or roses, the darkened rituals of the middle class. We replace them with pinpricks, with new forms of arson, and the dreams of 1,000 archers haunting Trafalgar Square. Nothing returns. Our bodies, the names of stars, but nothing is forgotten, everything falls. 13 the only number, the sounds of 13 fevers crackling inside our dreams. There are no dreams. We never sleep. An unknown light in the corner of the room. Sometimes the door opens, I'm terrified. You are dressed in white, your face is white. You force open my hand, place coins there. I never move, never, every morning. You know exactly where to find me. A long time has passed, my nails are filthy. They are long and sharp, I terrify my friends. I have no imagination. Coins in my hands, they frighten me. Every day they call my name, it terrifies me. I know they want me to betray someone. I keep their voices close to my face. I know they change the words. I'm frightened of the voices because the voices lie. They told me they shot you in the legs. I know they never shoot in the legs, they shoot in the head. They extract the mind. Just keep it together, love, keep moving. I think of my friends as blackbirds, screeching from rooftops, murdered by rising rents. We survive at random, pissed out of our heads in songs, in squatted bars, with pills and needles, interpreters, commies, thieves. We wake in the same bed, with bed bugs, with track marks. I love my friends. They are wires stretched from city to city, in borrowed dresses and migraines, in silence, lines of speed and wires tight around your hands, your necks, you fascist shits, your necks. My friends are wires, are blackbirds. Loneliness does not meet for lunch in Selfridges. Loneliness does not stroll abstract and satisfied through the V&A, for example. It doesn't care about Beethoven, or even the Beatles for that matter. Never gets nostalgic over memories of its mother, its ribbons, its straw hats, its oh-so middle-class morphine. Loneliness is not white. Loneliness is up for sale. Loneliness will clean your toilet with her fucking tongue. Oh God, I'm swearing again. Loneliness turns up drowned on the front pages as refugee porn and is 3 years old. Loneliness queues up politely for a boot in the face for black eggs and poisoned ham. Loneliness crawls up from the desert, its mouth filled with salt and grain, is marked out in inches like cattle and real estate. Humiliation, pain, is laughing and is very silent. Loneliness crawls out from the ocean, its mouth filled with sand and glass, knows all your passports, destroys private property, knows all your music is prison, knows all your language is prison, all of your seconds are prison, knows Western weapons, knows European oceans and blood clots and fucking shit. Loneliness is screaming, is smashing your windows with boots and chains. Loneliness is dancing barefoot on tables in bars, is holding in her bruised and ruined hands a very sharp axe, is hanging over your head, is swirling over your head, is lonely, and loneliness is power, is sharpened and blood-stained, is swirling, Our death. Sorry. You walked past a dead man the other day. You think maybe he jumped from his... You think maybe he jumped and, like the asshole that you are, you tried to make some kind of structure out of whatever it was that you felt as you hurried past. Like, for instance, there was a moment before he jumped from his 6th-floor balcony and there was a moment afterward. And those moments were the same moment. And at their centre was a moment of simplistic complexity. You could scatter those moments on the floor. You could call them a gore fest. But no, I won't let you call them that. I want you to think of them as a border, as a cruel and jagged line that neither you nor I will ever have our hands pressed against. Nothing exists. You say that. Everything is made of cops. You know that. You see a man and you assume he's passed out from beer or smack, and then you see the sack full of blood and brain that we might as well call imagination, or a minor complication in chronology and distance and despair. You say, for instance, that the missing half of his skull is the sky, and in it we can find the centre of our earth. That is, the missing half of the sky was where his face was, and the syllables that he kept there. There is no name can satisfy this. No hermetic system can alter it. No bank statement or judge's sentence. In 3 hours' time, You will walk down 6 flights of stairs and across the street and pass him again and know there will be no one there, no body, not a trace of blood or drool, no borders. But his bones will be there forever, and there will be days when you hate everything and care only for those trapped on the other side of the most brutal, sharpened and arbitrary fences. These offices of bones, these cities and these deserts, all taken by the earthquake. On the hatred of the sun. Every evening, it's like the sun smashes into the earth. It's been doing it now for a few weeks. The sky splits into two and all the details of our lives, desires and facts and seizures, flare up from somewhere behind the horizon and produce embittered maps, random shreds of detritus that seem almost to be meaningful. All human data is scrawled across the sky. There is the date of your birth, for example, that arbitrary pivot. There, next to it, perhaps a set of fairly random memories. Somewhere further off are the names that are given to human love, but then, unfortunately, those names get entwined with the screams of the victims of the Peterloo massacre, get entwined with the hideous noises that business leaders would make if they were to look into the mirror at midnight. The darkness of that mirror, which is not quite equal to the darkness and silence inside the opened mouth of someone being burned alive. So many things to hear and see, etc., in the dreams of the dying sun. Fortunately, all of this passes after half an hour or so. The sky closes and the calm night begins, but still it leaves us feeling cold. The calendar, that particularly esoteric version of music, was invented as a means of warding off the fear associated with that cold, but us, we embrace it. What else are we supposed to do as we sit here waiting for the end of everything? Reinvent prayer? Behave yourself. As the sun nears the rim of the planet, we stare directly into it. We are unsmiling and terrified. We can feel it etching itself into our retina. The shapes it makes are repellent. Here is the burning hospital. Here is the salivating fascist. Here is the eternal ringing of the imaginary city walls. When the sun goes down, we can still hear that ringing. It is our voices, a huge cacophonous reckoning, before the night silences us with its fists. Grievance. Today they cancelled the carrion birds, and we are in love and sleep in peace. There were cops inside our pillows. Try and say their assassins work for us. Our houses are packed so close they are no longer houses. Get that. These are beds, these are scraps of food. We eat with the same mouth. We no longer use our bones. We are desperate, we are fabulous, we are possibly dead. 4 a.m. Sleep, fuck, get high. And that monster in the sky taking our details. Ghosts walk at noon. Everyone's a weapon.
Thank you to everyone for coming, and thank you, Sean, for reading. I guess maybe we should go to the pub. Announcements.
Actually, there are 2 announcements. So the first announcement is lots of you today will have seen that Donald Trump has proposed arming school teachers. And this is seems like a big opening for us. You know, like the moment finally when we were able to like push for the equipping of all lollipop ladies with grenade launchers. And the second announcement is like that most of you will know that there's a strike on at the moment. And on Tuesday, some of us are going to try and do a reading at the Goldsmiths picket line. If anyone wants to like participate, you'd be like more than welcome. You'd be
What time?
hungrily absorbed. 10.
There's a picket from 8 to 11 and a picket from 11 till 2.
So 8.
Anytime.
Yeah.
Yeah, so 4:30 in the morning. Like 11?
Yeah.
Yeah. So say 11. But yeah, just come and speak to me, and we'll try and sort something out. Thanks.
Any more announcements?
Crossing the line next Thursday, John Clay and Amy at 7:30 at Poetic. Waterloo.
Oh, it's not because it said my teeth is record.
You fuck up. He hasn't seen me.
I know, I I'm running to the